roses I have been removed. I have seen the specter, he has been here too. Distant cousin from down the line, brand of people who ain't my kind.
They got us in a trap, They wanna keep us in a trap, Critical thinking,
right?
For critical time.
Yeah. They got us in the trap. They want to keep us in the trap. Critical thinking. Keep me in this state of mind, huh?
Sick of party politics. Left and right or wrong. Get the money out so we can get along. They got us in the trap. We're caught up in the trap.
Yeah, critical thinking.
For critical times. They got us in the trap. We're caught up in the trap.
Yeah, critical thinking.
For critical times. Government's not the answer. We need less of that. It's up to the people to take our country back. Cronies own the parties. Corruption's everywhere. Clean it up for the love.
Vote Donovan for God.
They got us in the trap. We're caught up in the trap.
Yeah, critical thinking.
For critical times.
Yeah, hemp's just a plant. Prohibition is the problem, but we could change all of that. Yeah, vote Donovan in the autumn.
Individual rights is where it's at. Collective thinking is a cancer. And with liberty our guide, we can find the answer. Stop the intolerance. Get couples free to win. Women control their bodies. Keep the government out of beds. They got us in the trap. We're caught up in the trap.
Yeah, critical thinking.
Useless eaters. As your unqualified, non-elected global human health overlord, I'd like to take this opportunity to flaunt my position of power and influence over society and share some of my plans for you and your future. When I amassed my fortune in computer software, I demonstrated that I was willing to lie, steal code, cheat my partners, and exercise monopolistic control to destroy my competitors.
Just the same as always. It's not the worst, it's not the best.
I know that it's easy to say, well, politicians are all corrupt. But then it's a little bit harder to think that a politician who's corrupt also rapes and kills children. I think that's where we have to draw the line. We say, no, that I can't believe. Because if they're doing that, I think everyone has to go through the process that I just described because it's personal. It's a personal betrayal for everyone. If that's what our world leaders are doing, well, it's really no wonder that the world looks like what it looks like today. It's no wonder. It's no wonder that there is so much hunger and poverty in the world, and that the resources of the world are being hoarded by a few. But that this is an addiction. That any junkie that you find on the street that has to shoot up and will do anything to get that next high, that these people are no better. These people have an amazing brain and intellect, and it makes them all the more dangerous to the world. That is an addiction to power.
I'm sorry.
It's an addiction that I know.
I don't want to be an emperor. That's not my business. I don't want to rule or conquer anyone. I should like to help everyone if possible. Jew, Gentile, black man, white. We all want to help one another. Human beings are like that. We want to live by each other's happiness, not by each other's misery. We don't want to hate and despise one another. In this world there's room for everyone, and the good earth is rich and can provide for everyone. The way of life can be free and beautiful, but we have lost the way. Greed has poisoned men's souls, has barricaded the world with hate, has goose-stepped us into misery and bloodshed. We have developed speed, but we have shut ourselves in. Machinery that gives abundance has left us in want. Our knowledge has made us cynical, our cleverness hard and unkind. We think too much and feel too little. More than machinery, we need humanity. More than cleverness, we need kindness and gentleness. Without these qualities, life will be violent, and all will be lost. The aeroplane and the radio have brought us closer together. The very nature of these inventions cries out for the goodness in men, cries out for universal brotherhood, for the unity of us all. Even now, my voice is reaching millions throughout the world, millions of despairing men, women, and children, victims of a system that makes men torture and imprison innocent people. To those who can hear me, I say, do not despair. The misery that is now upon us is but the passing of greed, the bitterness of men who fear the way of human progress. The hate of men will pass, and dictators die, and the power they took from the people will return to the people. And so long as men die, liberty will never perish. Soldiers, don't give yourselves to brutes, men who despise you, enslave you, who regiment your lives, tell you what to do, what to think, and what to feel, who drill you, diet you, treat you like cattle, use you as cannon fodder. Don't give yourselves to these unnatural men, machine men with machine minds and machine hearts. You are not machines, you are not cattle, you are men. You have the love of humanity in your hearts. You don't hate, only the unloved hate. The the unloved and the unnatural. Soldiers, don't fight for slavery, fight for liberty. In the 17th chapter of St. Luke it is written, the kingdom of God is within man, not one man nor a group of men, but in all men, in you. You, the people, have the power to create machines, the power to create happiness. You, the people, have the power to make this life free and beautiful, to make this life a wonderful adventure. Then in the name of democracy, let us use that power. Let us all unite. Let us fight for a new world. A decent world that will give men a chance to work, that will give youth a future and old age a security. By the promise of these things, brutes have risen to power, but they lie. They do not fulfill that promise. They never will. Dictators free themselves, but they enslave the people. Now let us fight to fulfill that promise. Let us fight to free the world, to do away with national barriers, to do away with greed, with hate and intolerance. Let us fight for a world of reason. A world where science and progress will lead to all men's happiness. Soldiers, in the name of democracy, let us all unite!
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Last but certainly not least.
That is correct, and I appreciate that. And even though my colleague from New Jersey went twice his time, I am going to begin.
These are Senate minutes, yeah.
Yes, they're Senate minutes. I will agree with my colleagues who have talked about the impact on children. The distribution of information that damages women and children, that leads to violence against women and children, human trafficking, the utilization of these platforms by pedophiles. This is something that we are going to continue to work on. When I was in the House, we passed legislation to put more tools in the hands of local law enforcement to fight this, but you all at these social media platforms are going to have to do your part to work with us on this to protect our children. I will also say that we're keeping an eye, and with each of you yesterday, I talked about your financial components. Square, there for Mr. Dorsey, and Libra with Mr. Zuckerberg, and the application of these components to your sites. We're talking about 2020 elections, but we're also looking ahead to how we clean up some of what transpired in the before the 2022 elections. I think it's fair to say, too, that you all probably are now fully aware that there's great frustration with Americans and with this committee, with the way you act invincible, the way your employees act as if you're the invincible gods of the Silicon Valley. Facebook and Twitter don't get to be the last word in what counts as real news in this country, even though you're beginning to conduct yourself as news publishers and distributors. My colleagues and I have asked you all repeatedly through the years for greater transparency and to accept responsibility. You've chosen to do neither, so it is going to be up to us to change existing law and to hold you to account on behalf of the American people. Section 230, the reforms that we're going to put in place will take away this liability shield that you've turned into an opaque wall that you and your content moderators, whether they're algorithmic or human beings or a combination, are hiding behind. And the Online Freedom and Viewpoint Diversity Act, I thank Chairman Graham and Chairman Wicker for working with me on this. This is set up for a markup in this committee on Thursday. And Mr. Zuckerberg, you were stating earlier that we needed to put some definition in place. We're going to do that. We're going to take away nebulous language, and we're going to be specific. Unlawful, inciting personal harm, inciting terrorism. We're going to do that and clear that up for you. Mr. Zuckerberg, Facebook is more like a government than a traditional company, is a statement that you have made. There's a lot of power in that for you. So yes or no on a couple of questions here. Does Facebook routinely censor a user's account at the behest of a foreign government? Yes or no?
Senator, I'm not sure if there's anything in particular you're referring to, but in general, we
Well,
We
there
don't
is
censor-
something in particular that I'm referring to, and I'll answer it. Yes, you've done that. You have 60 million users in Vietnam. Of course, this is a communist regime. Under the orders of the Vietnamese government, did Facebook shut down and ban the account of a Vietnamese dissident because he criticized the government's land policy? Yes or no?
Senator, I'm not familiar with all the details of that, but I believe that we may have done that, and that in general we try to follow the local laws
you
of
did,
different countries.
And you kept him
We operate.
off for 3 months. In Turkey, does Facebook have an anti-blasphemy policy where it will take down photos of the Prophet Muhammad if the Turkish government orders it to do so?
Senator, again, we don't have a policy against that, but
Well,
we
the answer is yes.
follow. Well, we follow local laws.
The answer
the
is
countries
yes.
where we operate.
In Russia, under pressure from the Russian government, did Facebook take down a post advertising the rally in support of the dissident Alexei Navalny? The answer is yes. I'll help you with that. Do you believe it's Facebook's duty to comply with state-sponsored censorship so it can keep operating, doing business, and selling ads in that country?
Senator, in general, we try to comply with the laws in every country where we operate and do business.
Okay, and I think that you prioritize profit over principle when you look at these countries, and also in communist China, which they have banned their citizens from you. You can't operate there. And in China, Twitter, you have an opponent there. You've got a knockoff, Weibo, that is a Chinese Communist Party-owned company, but your companies, even though they're banned there, you're still trying to do business in those countries. Mr. Dorsey, does Twitter do business with Huawei?
I don't believe so, but we can follow up.
Oh, I can answer it for you, sir. You helped launch Huawei's Mate 3 Pro 5G, and it is featured on Twitter's marketing page website. How about Alibaba? You do business with Jack Ma's company with their links to the Chinese Communist Party?
If by business you mean allowing people to advertise on a platform.
Your answer is yes. Mr. Zuckerberg, are you aware that last year China's top internet regulator agreed to spend over $800,000 for the communist mouthpiece, the People's Daily? And they did this so that they could advertise and promote China to the American people on Facebook. The point of all of this, and the answer to that, Mr. Zuckerberg, whether you're aware or not, is you probably are, and you know that what they're doing is gaining access to this market. This is why we're going to keep a real close watch over what you all are doing with Libra and what you are doing with Square, because we see what has happened. It's important for us to protect people and to protect human rights. And your election, let me move to election content and that monitoring, because we do have concerns about some of the things that happened there. Mr. Zuckerberg, let me ask you this. Have you heard of the Trump Accountability Project?
Senator, I'm not familiar with that.
Okay, that is a project that is an attempt to blacklist Americans who have served in the Trump administration and to prohibit them from gaining future employment. Now, in communist China, in Putin's Russia, in totalitarian states, the government regularly will issue a blacklist on their enemies. Enemies of the state are banned from getting a job, and if their names fall on the blacklist, they're out. Now, this seems disturbing that it would be happening here in this country. So, Mr. Zuckerberg, do you agree with me there is seriously something wrong with an un-American blacklist tarring people from future employment simply because they belong to a different political party.
Senator, I generally agree that people should not be discriminated against because of a political belief.
Okay, that is a positive step. Now, on Facebook, I wrote in a post, and I'm quoting, "The Trump Accountability Project is the epitome of the cancel culture. Our nation has long benefited from robust political debate, and this effort to silence those who support our president is vile." As you can tell from this statement, nothing was said about the election or the results, either directly or indirectly. But somehow I got slapped with your elections flag sticker. So what each of you need to realize, and you've heard it time and again today, you say you don't keep lists. Obviously, you have lists, because there are some of us who are regularly censored and called down by your content moderators. Do we want to see these lists? Yes. How have you built these lists? We want to know. I would remind each of you, you are a Title I service. You are an information service. You are to be the new public square. But what you are doing with your power that you have derived, because federal law gave you the ability to stand up and grow without being hit by lawsuits, you have used this power to run amok. You have used it to silence conservatives. You have used it to build your list. You have used this power to act like you hold all the power, that you can make these decisions. You have driven this cancel culture because you have not called to account your moderators. You have refused to take responsibility for your employees and their actions, so thereby reining you in on the issues of privacy, data security, content moderation, liability protections, defining who is a publisher in the virtual space. That is up to us, because you have proven you do not have the will, the strength, the ability, and you will not accept the responsibility to do it for yourselves. I yield my time.
Thank you.
The choice is yours. Where on your ID? The choice is yours. Oh, the choice is yours. Taking it easy. The choice is yours. The choice is yours. The arms wide open, the walls are caving in. Don't bury your secrets deep within your skin. When you focus on the gun knows all things under the sun. You free yourself from negativity and then the good shall come. The choice is yours. Well, you're right, the choice is yours. Oh, the choice is yours. Taking it easy. The choice is yours. The choice is yours.
The choice is yours and the choice is mine. You can't please everybody all of the time. You can open great things will be just fine. But man, I know at the end of the line, happiness is only a state of mind. Open your eyes and in time you will find. Open up your heart, let your love light shine. And it don't cost a penny, nickel or dime. Give a little love and give a little like the way that it goes. What goes around, say come on, so everyone knows. What you give is what you get, so take a look, cause it shows. Looking up your brother anytime you feel low. Looking up a challenge, don't let's slip a buckle. Moving up the best and nothing less than I do. When I'm smoking up my split to burn it fast, I like it slow. Moving up in the style of and the fashion, I'm so cool. Opening up the door anytime another door is closed. Moving to the light and from the dark now we expose. When I'm reaching to the sky, just spread it out and let it go. Never do a thing because somebody say you know.
I was like, what is this about? What?
That's okay though. For being so young, you're very, very smart. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So keep up the good work, man, and stay flat, okay?
Okay, I'm a flat earther.
wear a face covering at all times, practice social distancing, wash our hands regularly, not to enter common areas if we're experiencing symptoms of a respiratory illness, including headache, fever, and cough. Remember, we're all in this together. Now that the fact-checking keyboard commandos, social media administrators, and thought police have been pacified, let's get down to business. A world government regime is being implemented right before our very eyes, using COVID as the Trojan horse. It's a scientific dictatorship being guided by the principles of eugenics, operating as a psyop under the guise of a pandemic using medical martial law. If you want a vision of the future, imagine a boot stamping on the human face forever. George Orwell, 1984. Countless people will hate the New World Order and will die protesting against it. H.G. Wells, The New World Order, 1939. We shall have a world government, whether we like it or not. The only question is whether world government will be achieved by consent or by conquest. James Warburg, February 17, 1950. The U.S. Senate Committee on Foreign Relations. Now, if you're wondering what's next, just remember all the "it's just" statements. It's just a mask. It's for your safety and mine. Don't put other people's health and safety at risk because of a minor inconvenience. It's just 6 feet. It's just safer at home. It's not really a lockdown. Besides, it's only for a few weeks. Then everything will reopen. It's just non-essential businesses that need to close. It's just non-essential workers that need to go jobless or in a crisis. Take one for the team. Have a vacation on the state. File for unemployment. Get your COVID check and chill. It's just until this whole thing blows over. It's just bars and restaurants and gyms and salons that need to close. It's just so that we don't overwhelm the hospitals. I mean, don't you care about our medical infrastructure? God forbid you get sick. You'll see, you silly conspiracy nuts. It's just until we flatten the curve. It's just until we can get a vaccine. I mean, my health is not my responsibility. It's the responsibility of the state to make sure I'm healthy. My job is to help them help me. It's just contact tracing. So what, you get a phone call. It's just a COVID app. I mean, don't you want to know who's safe to be around and who's not? It's just the COVID vaccine certificate. Businesses need to provide a safe and secure environment for their customers and employees. It's just a vaccine. You're not one of those anti-vaxxers, are you? And when the protest started, what happened? It's just a few inmates that are being released while the riots are raging throughout the United States. It's just a few states that did it. Not all states do it. It's just a few paid violent protesters. It's just a few pallets of bricks being conveniently placed. It's just a few off-duty police officers breaking windows of shops and destroying their own police cars. It's just George Soros and a few billionaires backing protesters. I mean, what's the big deal? What's a billionaire to do after they tank the economy? And when people start to speak up, what happens? They're just blocking the medical misinformation. You can't let people think for themselves. Where do you think you live, America? Stop it. They're just blocking a few doctor videos, you know, the quack doctors, the snake oil salesman type, those that believe in hydroxychloroquine, God and demons and that kind of stuff, you know, crazy talk. Get out of here. They're just blocking a few frontline workers and nurses from speaking out, you know. These guys only have time to treat COVID patients and make TikTok dance videos. We're in the middle of a crisis here. Either dance or get back to work. They're just blocking a few of these posts on social media. You know, you don't want to violate social media standards and policies, do you? This is serious business. I mean, think about the advertisers. How are they going to feel? All that rhetoric is there for what? To condition you to believe that, you know, standing up for your rights is a selfish act. And if they can succeed, if they can get you to believe that, then you're more likely to give up your rights for moral reasons rather than for social reasons. And because you're afraid, what are you going to do? Well, what may you do? You'll sacrifice your freedoms on the altar of fear in the name of peace and safety. Those that would give up essential liberty to purchase a little temporary safety deserve neither liberty nor safety. Benjamin Franklin. I know. That's a little bit out of context, but